Hey, we're back. This is John.
Hey, it's Paul.
And it's Eric.
This is What If Geeks. It is June 11th, yet again. And as always, we don't know when you're going to get this, so just stand the fuck by. You'll find it when you find it. So today's episode, we are going to talk about, well, I guess let's go with the title. It's a grower, not a shower. My wife has heard that a lot.
Yeah. It's called the Paul Seago story.
Netflix is signing up right now. All right, so basically this is movies that grew on you after repeated watchings, or maybe movies that you had to watch a second or third time around to kind of grasp everything that was in them. And it was funny because, like, when Eric and I were talking about it, those were the only ones that our minds could focus on, were the ones that you have to watch repeatedly. I would say maybe like one example that we don't have on here of one that grew on me after a repeated watching would be maybe Last Jedi, and that's being generous, because I hated it the first time I watched it, but then I sat down and calmed down and watched it again. I was like, okay, I picked some stuff out of it that I liked, but definitely not like, oh, I love this movie.
Yeah, it's not because it's deep.
Yeah. So sometimes when you watch a movie and you have time sort of after the fact, days, weeks maybe, to sort of process what you saw and listen to what other people said and pick up, you know, maybe tidbits you missed, then you can go back and rewatch and say, okay, that's not that terrible. I'm not saying that the movies you're mentioning is necessarily that way, but...
Right, yeah, like I couldn't for the life of me. I was really trying to like rack my brain on movies that I did not like at all, and then when I watched them again, I liked them.
Yeah. But we're talking about a slightly different thing, right? Where the ending hits you and you're like, okay, now that I know that, will this be different? The viewing experience different now that I know? Like, what am I going to see this time through that I didn't see last time that I should have seen?
Yeah. What did I miss? Where were the clues? You know, that, makes it worth rewatching it and paying more attention to detail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I guess like the most popular example of this is one that we decided we're just going to kind of like have a joint discussion on. So that.
But before we get into there, major spoiler warning: if you're listening to this, we are going to ruin the plot of at least 7 movies. They're all, I think, except one, they're all 10 plus years old, but consider this your warning. If you hear the movie title and you haven't seen it, we're going to spoil it for you.
Yeah, there you go.
I will do you a favor, and I will put the time blocks in the description of the video so you can skip things you don't want to hear.
There you go. All right. I like that. That'll work. All right. So the most popular example of this, so we're all going to kind of jump in on this one, would be The Sixth Sense, right? So, again, this is directed by M. Night Shyamalan, right? Stars Bruce Willis and Haley Joel Osment. It's from 1999.
Is this his first movie? Sorry to interrupt. Is that his first movie?
For Haley Joel Osment?
No, Shyamalan. M. Night Shyamalan.
It was the one that put him on the map.
Yes.
For sure.
It's definitely the one that made him the most famous, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely his best. I don't think it's his first, but I do have the filmography pulled up here somewhere. There it is. No, it is his 4th.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Yeah, so he made a few before this. This is definitely the one that put him like right in the forefront and showed everybody, oh shit, look at this. And this is the reason he became known for the twist, right? There's that twist ending, which is, what a twist. Thank you, Robot Chicken. That will never leave. If we don't put that in there, we're lost. So, known for the twist ending, this is the one that basically is like the reason we're doing this show tonight. Is you get to the end of this movie and you're like, oh shit, and then you go back and you watch, and you see all the little things that were, knowing what you know, are obvious now. Like, oh damn, okay, you know. So there's some that are like beat you over the head obvious, like this one, and then there's others that are kind of a little more subtle, maybe. The way he hid the hints in here are really good. But we can get into this one.
Yeah.
Eric.
So this one, I guess we can do the quick synopsis. So if you haven't seen this and you're still listening, the premise of this, again, I'm going to spoiler alert. I'm just going to keep saying it, but the premise of this is there's this kid named Cole. He's haunted by ghosts, essentially. But he's afraid to tell anybody about them, except for with this child psychologist named Malcolm Crowe, who is played by Bruce Willis. So as Crowe is trying to sort of uncover what's going on and what's happening with the kid, and at some point he realizes the truth. And this is the major twist of the movie, right? That he's dead too, right? And he's been dead the whole time. And so then you have that weird realization. And, you mentioned that Shyamalan is famous for these twists, and he is. But I think this is probably the best twist that he's got in all of his movies, because it makes you go back to the beginning and sort of look for that from the beginning, right? So like the twist in Signs was that the aliens were, sorry, I'm going to spoiler alert again, but the aliens were weak to water, right? Mm-hmm. That didn't require you to go back and look. You knew there was the glasses of water all over. You didn't really have to think about it. This one is a lot deeper than that, because you think he's alive the whole time, and you think he's interacting not just with the kid, but with the real world. And it turns out...
because we're going to spoil the movie, the things that happen in this movie is in the very beginning, he has a patient that comes to him, and he's got a history with this patient, right? So it starts off basically with this guy that shows up and in Malcolm's apartment and shoots him, right? Shoots him in the abdomen. And he's laid out on the bed. Now, then it kind of like time jumps and you see him. So you just assume he lived, whatever, right? He's looking into this case with this kid, whatever. But throughout the movie, as he's going, he also kind of like unveils like little things about like his case with that original guy too. Like he listens to the tapes and you can hear ghostly voices talking to this guy in the background that he didn't hear before, that kind of shit. Mm-hmm. And it's obvious that this kid really does see dead people, and they figure out that, well, they're not there to hurt him necessarily. They just want his help, either righting a wrong that happened to them in life or whatever, just to say goodbye, something. And they kind of do a bunch of that stuff in the movie. And when you do get to the very end, like you said, spoiler, and you realize that when Malcolm realizes that, oh shit, I'm dead, and it starts to flash back through the movie right then and there from the kid saying, I see dead people and they don't know they're dead. Mm-hmm. And then it flashes back to all his little interactions where you thought like there's a scene where Cole walks in to his apartment and Malcolm is sitting there with his mother. So you think they've been having a meeting, but there was no meeting. He was just sitting there waiting, and the mom was just sitting there waiting for her son to come home from school, right? Oblivious to this ghost in the room. And little things like that all throughout the movie. There's a thing with the end table in front of the door. There's the one door where he can't figure out why he can't open it. The lock doesn't work. And then he realizes, oh, she's moved furniture around and it's blocking shit. Now he can see the changes since he died. And it's really cool. Really, really cool.
So definitely worth a second watch or a third or a fourth. I've seen that movie a number of times. It's one I actually own on DVD. Yeah.
What do you think, Paul?
I love that movie. And it's that twist, I think, is, like you said, it's definitely his best. It is, I mean, it's now like a pop culture thing, right? I see, I see
that
dead
line
people
is iconic.
Yeah. And then there's a couple other scenes or things that should have given it away, that he experiences cold when he's around dead people. And there's a scene where Bruce Willis and I think it's his former wife, they may have been divorced, and you think they're just having this argument or something like that. She just doesn't see him. But she mentions it's cold or something happens. So there's hints throughout the movie, but yeah, once you go back and see it, and I think the way they shoot Bruce Willis is like they never shoot lower than here or something like that, because he's got him, right? Does he have a bullet wound?
I think maybe.
When they pull back and show, like, isn't there a bullet wound?
I don't remember.
No, I think he only realizes that once he realizes he's dead.
Right.
And then he can see what happened in the post-death, yeah.
But I think all of the shots of Bruce Willis are like here up, if I remember correctly. It's been a while.
So now I got to go back and watch it again. Okay?
Yeah. See? Look for more.
Thanks,
clues.
Paul. What a twist.
So I thought it'd be fun to do a little trivia on each of these before we move along. So in this one, always looking for something to talk about. In the scene where Cole says that famous line, "I see dead people," right? As soon as he says it, the camera does a close-up on Bruce Willis's face. And the producer at the time, Frank Marshall, who was the producer, was worried that was going to give away the whole movie, right? And he was trying to get him to cut it out. But when they did the test screenings, no one in the audience made the connection. Even after they finished watching it, nobody brought up the close-up on his face. So they just left it in there. And
I would have just thought it was him being concerned for the kid. And that part never tipped me off.
Yeah.
Later, I was like, how stupid. Well, you don't have to answer. I got a wife that can do that.
All right. So, John, you want to take the first one? What do you got for us?
Yeah. All right. Hang on. Let's see. We're going to do a quick change here. We'll use that one. Hey, Total Recall. All right. So, Total Recall, I'm going with the 90 version. I watched the remake with what's his face? Drawing a blank on the guy. Colin Farrell. I watched that. It wasn't a bad movie. It just, I like the first one better. So you got Arnie running around, right? Yeah, he's Douglas Quaid, and he's a construction guy who's real bored with his life. Just kind of, humdrum, whatever. There's a company called Recall that will plant false memories into your brain and allow you to go on vacations and whatever. So he decides he's going to go in there and check it out. And people warn him not to do it because it fucks your head up, whatever. So he goes there, and while he's there, he gets something happens, something goes wrong, and he starts remembering shit, right? So the doctors that are there are saying, like, hey, we never implanted anything in this guy. He's really got like somebody who's already fucking with his head. So this whole thing ensues where he realizes he's a secret agent, and they've given him a whole fake life and everything. One of the other reasons why I love this movie is Sharon Stone plays his fake wife, and well, hey, if you don't trust me, you can tie me up. Go watch the movie. You'll get it. There's a lot in there that's just like, it's fast-paced once it happens, where he's trying to uncover what happened to him, and the government agents are trying to chase him down and everything. The catch, though, to this one, spoiler, is once he goes through everything he's going, where he joins resistance and this and that, whatever, they even say it within the movie when they try to maybe or maybe not visit him in his mind and tell him, hey, this is all fake. Yeah. You're actually laying in recall, right? And they're like, think about it. The memory the vacation that you wanted was you were going to be a secret agent. You were going to meet this brunette, this, that, whatever. And it's all been happening in the movie. So then they debunk that, and he fights against them, and he wins the day, right? They get to Mars, and they get air to Mars or whatever. And he saves the 3 boobied women and and all those other people. And at the very end, if you remember the very last scene, when he's kissing the girl, it pans up real quick, and it goes to whiteout, which is the same way as they were like coming out of the recall memories. So you still don't know if this was actually a memory or an implant. And that was kind of cool.
Without discussing them in detail, I think there's a lot of different clues throughout the movie on what's real and what's fake. Just because you brought up that end scene, when they pan up before they white out, you see that he's on Mars, and the sky is blue like it's Earth or something, right? Like,
Right.
can that be real or is that a dream? You know, that's kind of, they drop those little things in there like, wait a minute, is this real?
Yeah.
And you're not sure. And I think when you rewatch it a second time or a third time, is another one I've probably seen a bunch, but there's all kinds of little things like that where you're just like, damn, which one is it? Not sure.
Yeah. Good. Paul, what did you think?
It's an amazing movie. There's so many cool things. The guy whose head comes across open, right, and he takes it off and it's a bomb. So much iconic stuff from that movie.
Yeah, no, it's one of my favorite movies. So many different catchphrases and just memorable lines and everything. But yeah, like I said, regardless of what take you want to go with, it's an amazing action movie. So it's definitely worth a rewatch. I haven't seen it in a few years, so I have to go back and watch it again. But I think, in my memory at least, it holds up.
Yeah.
It holds up better than the remake. So
I never bothered to watch the remake.
It wasn't.
The remake's not bad, but it's not as good.
Yeah, I watched it because I love the original, right? And it also had Kate Beckinsale in it. So
those are most of the reasons that I won't watch those. Like, I have not watched the Point Break remake because Point Break with Keanu and Patrick Swayze is amazing. Like,
I get your point. If they ever said there was a remake of Godfather, I'd never. Not
watching Red Dawn, the new Red Dawn with Chris Hemsworth, like, not doing it.
Okay.
Since you brought up Patrick Swayze, that's the trivia for this one. So originally,
nice segue, Paul.
Yeah.
Change your name.
Complete accident.
Originally, De Laurentiis Entertainment Group, which was the one that had the rights to do the production or whatever, they were going to film in Australia. They had cast Patrick Swayze as the main character, but the production company went bankrupt right at the beginning of production, right? So Arnold Schwarzenegger heard about it, and he persuaded Carolco Pictures to go buy the script and give him the role. Now, I'm trying to imagine this movie with Patrick Swayze as the lead, and if I would have really liked it.
Arnie makes his movie.
Yeah, I know.
Consider that a divorce.
Everything fell the way it was supposed to, I guess.
Yep.
All right, Paul, you want to take the next one?
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit more recent and talk about Joker.
A lot more recent.
Yeah. The only thing
5 minutes ago.
Right. In this in the last decade or so. But we had a long conversation about this movie when we reviewed it last year. And I know we have mixed reviews on it, but one of the things that made me think about this is just sort of the way things progress in this movie and specifically the ending. And we'll talk about this in a minute. So this is, if you don't know, 2019 crime drama supervillain movie directed by Todd Phillips with Joaquin Phoenix, Robert De Niro, and Zazie Beetz. And the synopsis: in Gotham City, mentally troubled comedian Arthur Fleck is disregarded and mistreated by society. He embarks on a downward spiral of revolution and bloody crime that ultimately takes him face to face with his alter ego, the Joker. Couple things and reasons to rewatch this. First is Joaquin Phoenix's performance. It's amazing and deserving of the award that he got.
Yeah.
There's a Batman. Obviously, the Joker is a Batman villain. There's a Bruce Wayne tie-in in the movie where he meets young Bruce Wayne, and so there's the possibility that in the next set of Batman trilogy somewhere with Robert Pattinson or someone else, that this will be the Joker. And so get in on the ground floor of that and watch what happens. But the thing that we talked about and what I said when we talked about this in my review of it is the whole thing ends in a way that made me think that it's possible that none of this actually happened and that he is in Arkham Asylum the entire time, and just sort of this is a large kind of figment of his imagination / sort of psychotic break. And there are some clues throughout in including the what is the name of the symptom that he had, the brain disease,
pseudobulbar effect.
Yeah, that he lasted in appropriate times. It happens to his character sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. He tends to, even in sort of regular day-to-day stuff, have these sort of fantasy breaks, and one of them is he's watching De Niro as the late night talk show host, and all of a sudden he puts himself in that he's going to come down and call him out of the audience and introduce himself and tell him he's a good boy and wish I had a son like you. He imagines the entire relationship with Zazie Beetz' character, and we find out as the movie ends, like, none of that happened. And then he goes from sort of nobody to anti-hero and sort of hero of the Gotham riots almost overnight, or in the course of a day. And then again, it ends in Arkham, and I wonder, did any of that actually happen?
Yeah, because it ends with him talking to a psychiatrist, and he laughs, and she says, "What's so funny?" And
right, he's like,
you wouldn't get it.
Right.
He literally says you wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
Now, it could be that this entire movie was a story he was just telling her. It's a writing style, the unreliable narrator, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Where if this whole movie was taken from that, that's kind of really cool. I know we discussed it, and back when we first talked about it, I said I never wanted an origin story for the Joker, but the more I think about this, the more I like our version of what if it was all in his head, and maybe he and Batman are actually closer in age than what this movie showed, and he's just like telling a story, and it's just because in the comics he's got so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
In the Dark Knight, he has 3 or 4 different origin stories that he says about how he just got his scars. He constantly does that. So to play on that and like real like low key lead into the next Batman series, that would be really cool.
Yeah. So
like I'm more and more on board. And again, like you said, Joaquin Phoenix's performance is amazing. And after Heath Ledger, like I couldn't stand the Jared Leto Joker, and maybe they didn't give him a chance, but I didn't give him a chance either because Heath Ledger was just amazing to me. Joaquin Phoenix would like after seeing him do it, I'm like, all right, that's the guy I want.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I don't want that age gap. I don't want So to kind of if you can marry it up this way, I really like this more and more.
Yeah.
And again, just going with what we're talking about today. The more I think about it, the more I watch it, the more it grows on me. They're slowly converting me.
So there are definitely some questions that it sort of leaves open to.
Yes, God.
What the hell was that?
This had to be your house. The guy with all the fine-tuned electronics around his house is trying to figure out what the fuck just happened.
I think Becca might have broadcast over the speakers.
That's what it sounded like.
All right, where was I?
Joker.
Oh yeah, Joker. So there's a couple things in there that raise questions. For one, the final scene where you see Batman's parents get killed, right? In the 89, was it Tim Burton's Batman? This Joker that does that killing.
Yep.
In the comics, it's a guy named Joe Chill, right?
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
They don't have any tie-in whatsoever.
And this, it's just like a rando dude on the street.
Right.
Now, essentially, think about it though. Essentially, Joe Chill would have just been a rando dude on the street.
I guess so.
You know what I mean? I mean, granted, now in Joker,
not rando in that they name him. Right. We
right.
know his name. We don't know his name in Joker.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. He was a guy that was robbing them in Crime Alley. We'll take out of context how shitty parents they are, bringing their kid down Crime Alley, but whatever. So Joe Chill just because Batman figured it out and he found him or whatever. But it could still be Joe Chill.
Yeah, it could.
You know, it's just that they never, up until this point in the comics, they don't talk about how it was, Joker instigating riots in the street, which again may not have really happened.
Right.
Or he may not be the real Joker that we'll see
Right.
in Pattinson's Batman. Well, I shouldn't call it Pattinson's Batman, but
Robert Pattinson.
in Reeves Batman.
Reeves Batman. And I honestly don't think it will be Joaquin Phoenix, and I don't know how I feel about that, just because I actually, like I said, the character's grown on me now, and I wouldn't mind seeing him do it.
So
a little bit closer to comic, a comic portrayal, but I don't know. We'll see.
So that little piece aside, which is sort of not a tell, it's just an interesting thing. There's a part in the movie where he has this old school refrigerator and he empties everything out and he climbs inside and closes the door. Mm-hmm. And those kinds of fridges don't open from the inside, right? Could that be a moment where all the rest is bullshit?
Yeah.
Right, he just died.
Yeah, or whatever it was. Maybe he didn't die. Maybe somebody came and saved him last second. But
I don't know.
All a fantasy.
Before this becomes another dissection of Joker, which we already did.
Yeah, that's true.
Last year.
All right, so
it's an amazing movie that deserves to be watched multiple times.
Agreed. I'll give you the trivia for this one then. Arthur, I didn't realize this watching the movie. I actually read this later, but I don't know what it means though. Arthur writes with his right hand when he is normal Arthur insane. When he's having this mental breakdown, he switches to writing with his left hand, right? And this is the point where all these fantasies start showing up about him with the girlfriend and everything. Towards the end, when he's on the show and he shoots the guy, shoots De Niro's character, he shoots him holding the gun in his left hand, right? The left hand could be, just a thought here, could be sort of the symbology for what things are fake and what things are actually happening.
It could be.
I didn't notice that in the movie.
No, I just wrote that down for my list of shit that I got to go back and watch again.
When I watch it again, yeah.
Yeah. It also could be the split in his personality.
Him and his alter ego. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, I don't know. Definitely worth the rewatch, people. Go watch it.
Yeah.
All right, I got the next one. I'm going to go with Fight Club. So that's 99 comedy drama. Maybe it's a drama comedy. I'm not sure.
Dramedy.
Yeah, with Edward Norton, Brad Pitt, Helena Bonham Carter, and Meatloaf. Because Meatloaf has one of the best character roles ever.
That's right.
So this is about a depressed guy.
I won't do that. Sorry,
this is about a depressed guy who's played by Norton's character. He's never actually named through the whole movie. He's just referred to as the narrator in the credits. He suffers from massive insomnia. He eventually meets this soap salesman, which is Tyler Durden. That's Brad Pitt's character. And then they end up living together. And his apartment gets destroyed, and they start this fight club up. He pulls away from his job and stuff. And they start up the underground fight club, and a whole bunch more stuff happens, including some explosions and other things at the end, right? But the reason this is, of course, worth a watch a second time around is because of the end reveal that the narrator and Tyler Durden are the same person, and they have been the whole time. Yeah. And you get glimpses of things going back at the ending, right? But it still doesn't do justice to how much interaction there was, where it seemed like it was two different people, and they did it really well. And there's not a lot of gaps and holes when you go back and rewatch it. You can still believe that really worked out that way, right? It makes sense.
One of my favorite ones from this, if you guys recall, is when Norton's character calls Brad Pitt from the payphone, and he's talking to him, and you have to be paying attention, but on the phone it says no outgoing calls. So, and there's that whole scene where he talks to him on the phone, he called him from, but the phone says no outgoing calls. So it's little things like that they do that you're when you go back and watch it again, you're oh shit.
Yeah. And you don't notice it when there's one of the scenes when he's talking to Helena Bonham Carter, and she's like, "Who are you talking to?"
Yeah.
And Tyler Durden's in the background, like, "Don't tell her about me."
There, and I might be remembering this incorrectly, but I think a YouTube video that I watched discussed where there were like frame by frame shots in there where they do like quick cuts where they like have Brad Pitt's face over Edward Norton's like right before something happens. And
I've never
like,
seen that. You're talking like for a frame or something? Oh, you mean in the cut where it's like Durden's face and then the narrator's in the same spot or something?
No, like I mean like frame by frame, like it's a quick little like you have to be watching it freeze frame to catch it. Or
I'm gonna have to go look for that.
It's almost like a subliminal. Yeah, like I said, I don't remember exactly how they worded it, but it had something to do with them like swapping faces, basically.
Yeah.
And
The other clue to it, when you watch it enough times, is when he's in the office with his boss. Edward Norton's in there with his boss, and he's like, he starts hitting himself and throws himself through the glass table. And then you're like, oh, that's how he's, and in the end, it shows him fighting himself in the parking lot.
Yeah.
When they first developed Fight Club. But you're like, oh, well, that's how he's been doing it.
It's a perfect spot for Jim Carrey in Liar Liar. I'm kicking my ass.
So the trivia on this guy is, this is based on a novel actually that was written by Chuck. I'm going to get it wrong, but Palahniuk, I think is what it is. But he came up with this. Yeah, he came up with this idea. He went on a camping trip and he was complaining to some campers nearby him to shut off their radio, and they beat his ass. And so he was fucked up, and he went back to work, after, whatever, the next Monday, and nobody in the office would acknowledge the fact that he's got like a black eye and whatever, right? They're just like, oh, hey, how was your weekend? And so he sort of got this concept for the movie from that interaction, thinking like, well, people don't want to have that connection of asking me like, hey man, how the hell did you get fucked up? Because then you have to like show some, personal sympathy, I guess, for the guy and stuff, right? And they just didn't want to do it. So that he calls it societal blocking, but that fascination with that sort of premise is what made him come up with this story. Well, and getting his ass whooped, which is largely what the movie's about. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting, actually, that he just sort of focused on something that happened in his real life like that and made this out of it.
Oh, that's awesome. So on to my next one. We got The Usual Suspects, right? 1995 mystery film directed by Bryan Singer. Now, I want to say I saw this way before I even like remotely got involved with like, oh, this director, that director, whatever, like my interest. I don't really put a lot of stock into that, but because of like the podcast now and other podcasts that I listen to, I kind of started to learn more about who's directing what, and I'm learning more names, So had I known like Bryan Singer directed this, maybe I would have like looked more forward to like the X-Men and shit like that. Because like this is a really good movie. So it's a mystery starring Stephen Baldwin, Benicio del Toro, Kevin Pollak, Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey is amazing in this movie. So the synopsis is Soul Survivor tells a story of twisty events. Thanks, Eric. Twist. I love how Eric writes shit and I just read it. A Soul Survivor tells a tale of twisty events leading up to a horrific gun battle on a boat, which began when 5 criminals met at a seemingly random police lineup. Why is it worth the second watch? First of all, does anybody want to say anything before we get to any of the spoilers? Spoiler alert.
I swear to God, they wrote this role for Kevin Spacey. I don't know if they really did, but
right,
it's too perfect.
Yeah.
The way that he can essentially lie to you the whole movie, and then by the end, you're sort of like on his side.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you think to yourself, like, damn, that was clever.
Yeah. So, and I forget. Okay, yeah. So his name in the movie is Verbal Kent.
I think it's Verbal Kent. Yeah,
Verbal Kent, right? Or that's the name that he goes by.
that's the name that he uses. Yeah.
When they're interviewing him, right? So they're talking to Verbal Kent, and he's like this gimp little guy that's sitting there, telling the story. Like he's the guy that survived. He's telling the story of this whole, this massive mob thing that went on with the head boss Kaiser Soze, right?
Who's like the scariest.
Yeah,
dude. Yeah,
exactly. He's the scariest motherfucker in the world, right? Think like Don Corleone and fucking Scarface combined, right? Like, he's one badass dude, right? And this whole thing leads up to where the police are trying to bust Kaiser Soze, and there's this whole job gone wrong thing going on there, and this guy Verbal Kent gets out. So they're just grilling this dude in the interrogation room, and he's telling them this whole story. Well, spoiler again. The reason you need to watch this is at the very end, they let him go. They, all right, thank you for your, because I forget what Verbal was supposed to be. Was he a bookie, or he was like the low guy in whatever the hell this bullshit was, right? And they let him go because like, all right, you gave us all the info, so you kind of like, you get your pass and you go. And he walks down the street, and as he's walking down the street, the limp goes away, and he just like walks over to a limo, lights a cigarette, whatever, gets the fucking limo. And as he's walking, they cut to the interrogation room, and they're going over the story he told, and the detective is sitting there looking around the room, and all the main points of his story are from like little things in the room that he just like picked, like part of a name from here, part of a name from there, a picture or whatever, and he fabricated the entire fucking story, and he was Kaiser Soze the whole fucking time. They had him right there.
Yeah, it's freaking...
because there was the fax. The fax was coming in, right? For those of you listening now and didn't grow up with us, a fax is really simple piece of paper that comes up like this. Hang on, it's getting there. And there's a picture, an artist drawing of Kaiser Soze, right? It's coming through the feed, through the internet, because the internet was dial-up too, and that sucked ass. So by the time this thing finally fucking gets there, they realize, holy shit, that was him, and they get outside, and he's fucking gone. And then you go back and you watch the movie, and you're like, motherfucker, look at everything out of this thing that he just pulled out of this room. It's really cool. It's a really, for those that like crime dramas or whatever, like these kinds of movies, I throw it up there with like movies like Goodfellas and Godfather, that kind of shit. It was just really cool.
Yeah, and the clues he's dropping while he's weaving this storytelling thing are like the most abstract and obscure things that he pulled out of. Like, remember the bottom of the board was like a quartet like bulletin board or whatever, and it has the company name at the bottom, and then it says like Skokie, Illinois, where they're headquartered. And in one of the stories, or what he's telling part of the story, he's talking about him like working in a barber shop quartet in Skokie or something, right? He just like grabbed all these little things out of there. What I love though, and I didn't pick up the first go through and I had to come back around, there are hints throughout the movie that he's full of shit. In particular, you see Soze with a gold watch and a gold lighter. You also see him with Verbal with a gold lighter at the beginning of the movie. You see him again with it at the end. He's got the gold watch. Like, if you're really paying attention, you'd probably pick up on these things and realize he's got something to do with it.
But like you said, Kevin Spacey, and obviously, the character of Verbal Kent, whatever, the show that he puts on, the performance that he puts on, fools you 100% to, like, you don't even look at it. Much like when Sixth Sense, you don't even think about it because of the way they film it. The writing in this movie is bar none. It's amazing.
Yeah, unbelievably good.
Yeah. I love this movie.
Yeah.
I just added it to my fucking list. Jeez.
Yeah, it's something I've seen it twice, but I need to watch it again because it's been a long time since I've seen it.
Yeah. Definitely worth a rewatch. Everybody go check it out.
Trivia on this one has nothing to do with the plot or the twist, but I just thought it was really interesting. The entire film was shot on a budget of $6 million, and they filmed it all in 35 days.
Wow.
It's amazing.
especially considering the talent they have in there. They obviously
Yeah.
weren't paying them much, but it was 35 days, so it's not much of an investment either,
So
for the actors' time.
Yeah. Now, a little bit of trivia, because like you said, look at the lineup that's behind me, right? These guys are all guys you've seen in movies before, right? There are shots in the movie where they're in this lineup scene and they're all cracking up.
Yeah.
And I think it's because Baldwin is cutting farts. Something like that. Is either Baldwin?
I thought it was Del Toro who was cutting
Del Toro.
farts. Yeah.
One of them.
I think it's in the like the narrative or whatever for the DVD.
Right.
Where they're talking over or whatever. They're saying like they did like 12 cuts of that. It was supposed to be like stoic and serious, and they just couldn't get there. So Bryan Singer was eventually like, fuck it, we're just going to use these outtakes.
Yeah. So, and it turned out to be a great scene. It's amazing.
Yeah.
All right.
You got the next one, Paul?
Yep. This is probably in my top 10 of movies. It's called The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Have you guys ever seen this movie?
I have not actually seen
Can I
this
admit
movie.
something? Oh, good. Thank God.
All right.
And
So
I want to watch it. I
it-
keep saying I want to watch it.
It's great. It's a 2004 sci-fi romance with Jim Carrey, Kate Winslet, Elijah Wood, Mark Ruffalo, Kirsten Dunst, and a whole bunch of other people, but they're the sort of the main players. And Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet meet, have a relationship, they break up, and there is this company called
Recall.
sort of, but
The
exactly opposite. And you can go there and they will remove the memory of the person you've lost, broken up with, whatever. And so you see people go in because their spouse has died and they're racked with guilt and sadness, and they would rather, they can't get over it. And so they want to lose the memory. And you end up taking like all of their stuff, and the sort of applied phlebotom in this is that there's, they can go in and pinpoint the memories and just erase those and not erase, your whole mind or your personality or anything else.
What's the name of the company? Because I got a couple of X's that I got to.
Yeah. I think it's called Spotless Mind.
All right.
Anyway, so what happens is, in the movie, Jim Carrey gets a card from the company that says, she has gone there, so you may see her on the street, she's not going to remember you. Don't go up and try to rekindle, or she's essentially forgotten you.
Oh, that's a restart for me anyway.
Yeah. And he's devastated, and so he decides he's going to go get it done. And then part of the movie is him trying to hold on to her memories. So there's scenes where he's sort of running through his past, trying to dodge what's going to happen. Also along the way, you see that the doctor that's in charge of the thing, and Kirsten Dunst, you find out that she's gone through the procedure, and you figure out that because they had a relationship, and but they're starting to flirt with each other again in the office. And eventually Jim Carrey has his memory erased. And then at the end of the movie, they meet up again in the same place that they did before. And so where they meet the first time on a train is where they meet the second time. And I was sort of blown away by it. I think I watched it again 2 days later or something like that, because I was just sort of wrestling with, wow, that's crazy that would happen. And then so I watched it, and on the second watching, what you realize is things that are fated to happen are going to happen, is sort of the underlying concept of the movie. And there's enough sci-fi to sort of put it in our wheelhouse. But it is, when you watch it the second time, what you realize is what I said, that things that are fated to happen are going to happen, and everything is cyclical, and you're not going to stop that sort of those life events from happening. They're just meant to happen, and you got to kind of roll with it. So, but it's a really great movie.
Nice.
what, not having seen it, but what I read on this was that they decided, you know, her hair color changes multiple times throughout the movie.
Yeah.
They did that on purpose to try to let the audience keep track of where their relationship was, like in respect to the story that's being told, you know. So the colors are supposed to represent different things. Like when it's red, that's when they're like have their initial, you know, passionate meet up or whatever, and they fall for each other really hard, and it changes throughout. And at the end, which is the beginning, she's got green hair because that's supposed to be like renewal or whatever, right? Yeah. So those things are all supposed to help you keep track. I just thought it was an interesting way to do that, and it's something you probably don't realize watching the movie, but if you know about it and you can go back and watch it, I imagine it's indicative of what's going on.
One of the best parts is this is not Jim Carrey being Jim Carrey. Like he never.
I was about to ask that.
Yeah, he never does the Jim Carrey thing.
Okay, I was about to ask that because that's what I had heard. And all right, good. Well, I added it. Yeah,
add it to your list.
Yeah, thank God my wife's going away for a week again.
You should watch it with her. I think she'd like it.
Oh, no, I'm sure she would. She might have even seen it. We watch a lot of shit without each other because of timing. But I don't know. I don't think she's ever said anything about it, so we'll watch it together.
I'll watch it too.
All right.
I'll add it to my list. So
Eric,
mine is Inception. So that's a 2010 sci-fi action film written and directed by Christopher Nolan. It stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Ellen Page, Tom Hardy, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I think there's even a few more famous people in there, but I didn't write them all down. The way this movie plays out is that Leo's character, Dom Cobb, he's a thief, but he steals like intellectual property by getting into people's dreams, basically. Steals the secrets from their subconscious, right? But he gets charged with a different sort of task that's going to be like the end of this, and they'll let him get out of it. It'll be like the best caper ever, you know, where he's going to, instead of stealing something, go plant an idea in somebody's mind through some really complex, multi-layered dream inside of a dream shit, which is, of course, why it's called Inception. But you know, there's a whole nother storyline within the movie that's going on about him and his wife, who is passed, and he's been using the sort of dream sequences as a way to keep her memory alive and stuff, and all that's pretty interesting. But the part that makes this worth rewatching, I think, is one, the movie ends on this massive cliffhanger because he spins this top. And if the top falls, he knows he's in the real world. And if it keeps spinning, he knows he's in the dream world. That's sort of how he keeps it straight in his head, right?
Yeah. And he's supposed to be going back to his kids.
Yeah. And at the very end, he spins the top. And before you can see if it falls or not, they fucking fade to black. So you have no idea if he's even in the real world.
A little bit. Just a little bit of waivers, just to give you that idea of. And this is one of those movies where, again, it gets so ingrained in pop culture, right? Everyone refers to Inception, right? Something was an Inception on top of whatever, right? But then how conspiracy theory or how fan theories or whatever, I remember I read one where you've actually got it on here, where maybe the top is not his totem. Because that was the thing. Like you said, everyone has to have a totem to let them know whether or not they're in the dream or not. And the top might not be his totem.
Yeah, because it was originally Mal's top. It was originally his wife's top, right?
Right. So it should not have been his totem because it was her totem.
Yeah. So one of the things that makes me think, do I spoil this? Yeah, sure. Why not? That makes me think.
We said that 5 times already.
Yeah. No. I meant like spoil the answer, because I think there is an actual answer, and I think at the end he's still in the dream world. And the reason I say that is every time he's in reality, he doesn't have his wedding ring on. Every time he's in the dream world, he's wearing it. On the final scene where he spins the top, he's got the damn ring on. Now, I suppose he could have just pulled it out of storage and stuck it on or something, but it makes me think that that's really the dream world.
Right. And then it also gets into that existential thing of, you know, is that the reality he just wants?
Yeah.
To be happy with his kids on that beach and be done with it.
One of the, I think, coolest parts of this, and I don't know if I've seen it anywhere else before, but it's the way that Nolan rotates the backgrounds and
Yeah.
like
spins the world around.
Yeah.
And
I don't know that I'd seen that before, but people have used it or tried to use it since.
Yeah.
I
Doctor
don't know that
Strange
they've
did a good job with it, but
yeah, but like that turning and that's I think the first time I'd seen that.
it wasn't just the turning, but all right, so the fact that like these specific characters know they're in a dream, so they don't react to what's going around them. So like when they're at the diner and they just stand up and start to walk away and everything's blowing up around them and they're just walking, you know, like that kind of shit was really cool.
Yeah.
And when you get to the deep inception part where you're dream upon dream upon dream, when they're showing that and how they show like I guess the levels of the music is one, and then because everything happens slower in the next level down or whatever, right? Or slower in the previous level, right?
Yep.
But you start to see where like in one scene they're in a van that's submerged in water, so shit starts to flood somewhere else. You know, it's like this shit carries over from one segment to another, and the way they do that is real smooth.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about like bringing the water into the next dream level when it's slowly flooding into the van in the previous one. Yeah.
Yeah. How so? Like their subconscious knows what's happening on the level prior, and it just goes down like so many. It's crazy.
Yeah. I'm looking for
that shit as a director. I'd be like, I'm done.
Well, building on that, I think is what one of the reasons I'm looking forward to Tenet. Christopher Nolan's movie that's going to come out now. End of the year?
Yeah, apparently no. It's supposed to be this summer.
Is that right?
They finally move it because apparently that was like and every movie theater in creation is banking on this thing being ready to go.
I'm almost certain they left the date at July 17th.
Did they?
Yeah. They're like pushing hard. Like theaters are going to be open in time for Tenet.
Specifically for this movie?
I don't know. I mean, total aside, but AMC says they're going to go ahead and open their theaters now, so at least have one place.
Well, no, it's not just AMC. It's all the three majors. It's them, it's Regal, and Cinemark all said to varying degrees of what you're going to have to do, but they're all going to be – they all said, yes, we're going to be open, and it's in time for Tenet to show up.
Yeah.
I will freely admit that outside of repeatedly hearing the name of this damn movie and probably having watched this fucking trailer with you guys, I don't remember fucking thing about it. I remember nothing about this movie at all. I just keep hearing the name Tenet. Now I want to watch it. What the fuck are we talking about? I mean, it's not beyond my realm of reasoning to think that I might have been drunk when I watched this trailer. So
it's a time travel, time manipulation movie.
So it's definitely within our wheelhouse and something that I'm really going to enjoy. Okay. Oh, fuck. Now I got to go watch the Tenet trailer. Okay.
You're out of time.
Wow. I'll do that first.
Yeah, July 17th.
So anything else to say on this one? The trivia for this one is actually probably right to the point of what we were just talking about prior to Tenet, sorry. In an effort to combat the confusion in the Japanese release of it, they actually had a upper left corner tracker of what depth they were in the dream sequences. We probably all could have used that. I'm not sure why the Japanese got it and we didn't, but
it takes some of the fun out of it.
I probably would.
I think it would take some of the fun out of it. So, come on, Japan. I mean, you got like freaking machines with underwear in them.
You have lifelike sex dolls and vending machines with panties. Yeah, you can.
Vending machines. I couldn't think of the word vending. Thanks. Yeah. Ooh, going senile. Fun. All right. Sweet.
I don't know how long we've been recording, but you want to wrap it there?
I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know how long we've been recording. Anybody know?
How can I tell?
I tell you what, you guys want to close out with 2001: A Space Odyssey as a joint discussion one?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, let's do that.
All right, so last one on our list. We'll wrap it like we started it, with everyone kind of talking about whatever the fuck they know. 2001: A Space Odyssey. Who wants to start?
I'll start. Sure.
Yeah.
Wait, I feel like I just went, but that's all right. So this is, of course, this is a classic. This is 68, sci-fi epic. It's one of Stanley Kubrick's probably most famous works he's ever done. And it was co-written by Arthur C. Clarke, who is also, of course, famous for writing sci-fi stuff. This movie revolves around these monoliths that have apparently been around since time before man, right? And were a catalyst to turning apes into violent humans, or at least that's kind of where they give you the impression it starts. But the actual movie, the actual story that we follow, starts when they find a monolith on the moon. And this takes place in the future, but I forget what's the year. It's 2001 or something. It's not future now. It's just future to them, right?
Yeah, 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh yeah, duh. That's hilarious. So they find the monolith on the moon. I believe that's in 2001. And the monolith is transmitting a signal towards Jupiter. Of course, the main character or the characters that are on this ship mission don't know that. Only HAL 9000 knows why they're going over there to Jupiter. But there turns out to be another monolith over there, and that leads to a whole sequence that we'll get to in a minute. But so I guess reasons why it's worth more than one watch. I mean, obviously, it's one of the greatest sci-fi flicks of all time, or I think most people would agree with that anyway. But it has Kubrick and Arthur C. Clarke together put a lot of ideas into this that they don't actually bother to explain or tell you which way is right and wrong or any of that, right? They just leave it completely open. And the way they do that is something that almost feels annoying on the first watch through, which is that there's no fucking dialogue, right? Like, you just gotta look at what they're doing in facial expressions and take what you're going to take out of it, because they're not saying anything. And with a movie that is nearly 3 hours long, I think on the first watch through, that's kind of tough. Like, damn, there's a lot of silence, you know, and you're wanting to have those cues from the actors. You're wanting to have the dialogue to give you a little bit more, and it isn't there. But I think once you sort of get through the whole thing and you realize that that's on purpose, and then you can look for those threads and sort of analyze them yourself, that's why it's worth more watch throughs than one, right? To really pick up on all those little things. I mean, there's everything from nature of God to, the purpose of AI kind of things. Like, there's all these different concepts that they threw into here. And they're all really interesting.
Yeah. I've only seen this movie once, and I saw it, I think I was in college, and I didn't understand it. I didn't like it because I didn't get it. And so I owe it another watch through now that I sort of pick up those things a little bit better.
Yeah.
But I was like, what is happening here? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. I'm the same. I can't remember when the hell I watched it. To the point where I think I cross other movies with it. Yeah, it's been that long. Is there a space baby?
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
yeah.
yeah.
So that's
Spoiler alert.
That's presumptively part of.
But the only part I can actually remember is open the pod bay doors, Hal, and a space baby.
So some of the themes in this tie back to what was written by Nietzsche. And people have speculated that that baby at the end is sort of a rebirth of humanity, and he's coming back to the earth as an enlightened human, basically. Like, because at the end you see him, he goes through essentially his whole life in that room, and he watches himself go through and then eventually die. And at the very end, when he's about to die, he's laying in that bed and he reaches out towards the monolith. It's sort of like the painting on Sistine Chapel or whatever, like to touch the finger of God thing, right? And then he dies, but then he's reborn as this child in a bubble floating in space heading back towards Earth. Like, so I think that's a whole concept of a superhuman. Again, they left this all open. He doesn't answer any of this. There's no dialogue to tell you shit. There's no narration. They don't explain any of it. So it's really just left to you. But I mean, there are some clues in it, like the music that plays at the end when you see the baby come out, and you know that score is like kind of iconic, but it's actually named after what Nietzsche wrote, and it's named after the writings. I'm trying to remember what it's called right now, but yeah, it doesn't matter. But
Put it at the bottom.
yeah, it's it doesn't matter. I'm sure I'll remember it later when it doesn't matter, but
We're gonna get a random text.
But anyway, so I mean, there are little clues here and there, but yeah, but it's weird as fuck too, right? I mean, the whole thing from the moment he reaches Jupiter and touches or gets near that monolith and does that weird ass color thing where he's flying through space, and then he ends up in a room that's lit from the floor, and it's all this old Victorian furniture, and there's just a lot of weirdness that you really got to think about and try to understand what the hell's going on, because it's never going to be told to you. And Kubrick himself has long refused to ever answer any of the questions, you know, like that was the whole point. And that's
his thing, though.
Yeah.
He just makes a movie and it's just here.
And that is probably a great segue to the trivia piece of this, which is that when they did the premiere screening, 241 people walked out before the end of the movie. And actor Rock Hudson, who was pretty famous back at the time, you know, he said, and Paul, you'll probably appreciate this because this is what you said, will someone tell me what the hell this is about? Yeah. So Arthur C. Clarke's response to that later was, if you understand 2001 completely, then we failed in making this because we wanted to raise more questions than we answered with it.
Well, in that they succeeded.
Yeah.
All right. And I guess that's the perfect segue to the end, because all of these movies should raise a lot more questions than they answered, making you go back and watch them again.
Yeah.
And we've got plenty more off of this first list that we can do a second part to this, which is always fun. If any of you want to comment down below about the ones we've covered or any other movies that you thought deserved a second watch, let us know. Like, subscribe, hit a bell, do something. Tell us you're out there, because for the love of God. I've already got enough personalities up in here. I don't need more of them talking about. But hit us up, whatifgeeks.com, whatifgeeks@gmail.com, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and look forward to talking to you guys again. Good night, Tony.
Yeah. Good night, Kaiser Soze.
Good night, HAL 9000.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal. I can't do that, Dave.